love the fact that it's a 4 versus 1 panel, if I can just put it that way. No, we're not going to sideline you, Dr. Bala, because we have some very interesting conversations about a very interesting concept you've come up with. But let's first start with the superfoods. Can we start with the superfoods? I think everyone here wants to hear a little bit of what these two entrepreneurs are bringing to the table. Can I start with you, ma'am? Tell us a little bit about your initiative, and more than that, where did the idea of promoting millets to this extent come to your mind? सबसे पहले शुरुआत कहाँ से हुई?
Thank you. My company name is Earth Purna. So Earth Purna started, I grew up in farming family. So we used to have everything that is grown in our farm. So I got that connect कि जो हम लोग grow कर रहे हैं वही हम लोग seasonally हम लोग consume करते थे. When I came to Pune for my work, that time I found that gap की सारी seasonal चीजें या फिर जो native crop थे कुछ seasonal plant या फिर जो vegetables थे वो अभी available नहीं है market में. And that time I realized that I couldn't find ragi in Pune small shops. And I started working with an organization. They working with farmers who stays in Bor Taluka near Pune. So when I go to the village, I asked them that you used to grow ragi, and why you stop? So they told me there is no market demand. अभी यहाँ पे कोई लेता ही नहीं है रागी. So इसलिए हम लोग सिर्फ घर के लिए उगाते हैं और उतना ही हम लोग खाते हैं. बाकी लोग अभी कोई हम लोग उसको बेचते नहीं है. So that's how it started. So then lockdown happened. So I realized only selling grain is not an option. There is a market demand for healthy food products. So we started working on recipes, and that are come from my grandmother's, my aji's recipes.
So are these all millet-based recipes?
Yes.
100%?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of them.
And how do you make it so delicious? Because the one thing, at least conventionally, when we think of millets, when we think of things that are very, very healthy for your gut, the one thing that, or apprehension that comes with it is, उतना tasty नहीं होगा.
So लड्डू सबको पसंद आते हैं. That's why they are लड्डू. And अगर दादी का रेसिपी है तो वो उतने ही प्यार से हम लोग बनाते हैं, इसलिए वो सबको पसंद आता है. We also there is one person who we consulted with her. She is an Ayurveda expert. So we also added a few things that they'll be more nutritious and healthy too. So that's how we are working on these recipes.
Great Bites also has the same concept, and millet laddus is something that you'll also...
Millet laddu and some spicy millet cheese ball. वो तो हमारा ही इन्वेशन है.
But laddu with millets, cheese ball with millets, तो वही सवाल आपके लिए भी, how does one convince themselves कि this is a healthy dish, no matter what? Because the moment you say laddu खाना है, everyone's like, it can't be healthy.
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. वही इन्होंने वो बोला.
It can't be healthy and tasty, if I can put it that way.
No, वो दादी का अगर रेसिपी है और हम अच्छा दे रहे हैं तो टेस्ट तो सबको पसंद आता ही है. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि वो मिलेट का है इसके लिए कम टेस्टी रहेगा या हम खा नहीं सकते, ऐसा नहीं है.
And response कैसा रहा है?
ये रिस्पॉन्स तो अच्छा है. आप पहले जैसा बोल रही थी, ऐसा ही है कि वो मिलेट है करके कोई पहले हाथ नहीं लगाएगा, लेकिन जब हम टेस्ट को देंगे, वो अगर आप खा लेंगे तो एक बार खाएंगे तो बार बार तो खाएंगे.
एक बार खाएंगे, बार बार खाएंगे, and that's what's happening. That's why I'm assuming Great Bites is going to go beyond Goa. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you planning that eventually?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
हम
lovely.
ऐसा प्लान कर ही रहे हैं. हमें गोवा के बाहर क्या है, बेसिकली हेल्दी फूड सबको देना है, हेल्दी एंड न्यूट्रिशियस, और उसमें टेस्ट भी देना है, उसमें कुछ इनोवेशन भी देना है. तो ये सब कुछ देना है. इसके लिए वो गोवा या मेरे गांव तक नहीं सीमित रखना है, वो पूरा बढ़ाना है. लेकिन अभी तो हमारा 2-3 साल का ही बेबी है, तो वो अभी बढ़ जाएगा.
थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा, but that's a
टाइम
great
तो
initiative.
लगेगा.
Great initiative. Dr. Sujata, my first question then, just to keep the continuation on, is how much do you consume millets? Before we go to the Ayurveda story and talk about the wellness aspect of this discussion.
Thank you for inviting me. We recommend millets, no doubt about it, because it contains the micronutrients which are essential for the maintaining our health. But as per Ayurveda, consuming only millet is not recommended. Actually, you should have the whole grain food, whatever we are consuming daily, and in between, we can have the millets for the supplementation of micronutrients to our body for the health, maintaining the health. So that generally, and we call it as Shri Dhanya. Shri is the healthy or the good grains. So the person can consume in between or one meal for the millets after 2-3 days. That kind of advice we are giving, but not the routine.
Okay. So we'll talk about technology, AI being brought into Ayurveda. The moment we talk about Ayurveda in this country, the interesting thing is that, boom, that topic is trending because it's making headlines already. Everyone is on one side of the story. Either people are extremely pro it or anti it. But at AIIA, what have you witnessed with the younger generation increasingly curious about how science works, how a human body works? Ayurveda goes back thousands of years. Are you seeing a far more enthusiastic response in that sense from the coming generation?
Yes, definitely, because Ayurveda is actually having, for teaching purpose, we are having all modern tools and technologies. The anatomy, for anatomy, we are having the virtual dissection table. And whatever the modern anatomy and the Ayurveda anatomy, what is described, we are teaching them on virtual dissection table. So they find it very interesting to learn the anatomy like subject. So I think the students are very curious and they are seeing the results and the innovations, the research which we are publishing on the facts-based outcomes. So they are reading those and they are getting more and more attracted.
The one thing that I do want to ask, though, is where do you stand on this? And just to be the devil's advocate here once again, to anyone who says that there is a lot of absurdity that comes with Ayurveda, the ones who don't believe in this school of thought, how would you say Ayurveda's response has been? And is that evolving over a period of time? Because now we're seeing technology come in, we're seeing AI come in, and more people, and Dr. Bala perhaps can also speak on this in just a bit, more and more people are saying, look, we were not wrong. There's proof to substantiate what we'd been claiming all this while.
Yes, we are integrating many things for that proving, right, these are the Ayurveda principles, and yes, these are the true principles, what we can adopt for our healthy living. So I think we are using many tools for many diseases. Like in diabetes, we have developed a tool. Actually, the diabetes type, we are having in Ayurveda, there are 20 types of diabetes. Not exactly diabetes, but we call it as a prameha, and we are having the 20 types. So they are having the different clinical pictures, and we are putting them in the AI tool. And after the history of the patient or symptomatology of the patient, by hearing those, it is giving the ready-made, tailor-made diet, lifestyle, yoga, and the medicine.
And is this different from the conventional ways
Yes,
of going
surely,
about diabetic
surely.
patients? How is it different? How are these tools different than how a diabetic patient is normally told that this is your sugar level?
Because we are integrating this investigation also in it, but whatever the symptoms that patient is having, that depends. Like in kapha type of diabetes, the patient will having the more swelling, the dizziness, like things, and that's why that symptomatology is feeded in that tool, and that will give the whatever ultimate diet he should take.
Okay. Dr. Bala, your story is very interesting because the whole concept of Ayur AI was a personal story, a personal experience that translated into something that we're seeing today, a blend of tech and Ayurveda. So tell us a little bit about that story. Everyone should first be told कि आया कहाँ से कि Ayurveda, जो goes back thousands of years, had to be made more tech friendly.
First of all, thanks for the invitation. Happy to be among other women entrepreneurs and ma'am. Happy to be the minority on the stage. So I'm not an Ayurveda doctor. I come with no agenda in Ayurveda. I'm an engineer by background. Did my BTech in IIT in electrical engineering and aerospace engineering, and did my PhD in electrical engineering. So just want to give a context how an electrical engineer, is getting into Ayurveda. So after I returned back from US, I had a disease called chronic gastritis. So like everyone, you go to a modern doctor, and then they do an endoscopy, and they identify the cause of the disease. So, I thought I'll get better in a week. That's what was promised. And then I kept on taking modern medicines for 7+ years. I said clearly something is not working, right? And I stopped all the medication. It, in fact, made my health worse in certain aspects. So, my mother-in-law one day told I should meet an Ayurveda doctor, right? Now imagine an engineer sitting with an IIT background and being told to meet an Ayurveda doctor. It was a very skeptical experience at first. Right? I would say that we come with our own preconceptions of what something is because we're not taught, right? So just 5 minutes of meeting the Ayurveda doctor changed my perspective. Right? But by the time I had worked with a lot of sensors and instruments, he just takes these 3 fingers and then does an examination for a minute, and he could tell my whole history that I got 5 years back, right, this gastritis, and it aggravated 3 years back, and this is where it is. So to me, it is, it is all about experiencing it and making your own decision. Right? So we come with a lot of these preconceptions. Then I took the Ayurveda treatment, and I felt better, after long years. Then I quit my job in CSIR, and I started this company. The main goal is, we had a saying, in God we trust, everybody else must bring data. So then we started creating data, right? So Ayurveda, there's the question that you had asked, right? It's a 2,000-year-old science, right? Some people believe it, some people don't believe it. If you understand, right, the fundamental history of Ayurveda, ma'am knows much more than me, there is enough clinical evidence for the last 2,000 years. Right? Otherwise, any medicinal system will not survive if it's not producing the right benefits. What has been missing is 2 things. Creating an evidence like how we do in modern science, longitudinally tracking before and after interventions, how the patients are getting better, showing proof, right? Before treatment, sugar level is, 200, and after treatment, sugar level is 100. I think that proof we have not created in Ayurveda. That's where AI will come into the picture. Right? And the second thing is modern interpretation of Ayurveda. Right? So a lot of these terms, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, at that time, Ayurveda acharyas, doctors understood certain way of physiology. And modern terms, we have a very reductionist way of understanding things. Right? But body is not, just sum of blood markers. So the way we understand is an integrative approach where we combine the best of Ayurveda, which looks at your body as a whole, and modern markers which dissects the body and tries to understand. I think both approaches have its own value, and the goal is to integrate these 2 approaches, and AI is very much needed because neither doctor understands the other medicinal system. Yeah. So we have to build in processes and AI to ensure that both these inputs are taken, both in diagnosis and personalized recommendations.
So AI essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, is bridging the gap, right? So diagnosis is happening and the doctor is being able to pick on that diagnosis through AI, and that's where it comes into play. And there's a wonderful line that you keep repeating, which is that AI is not going to, in this case, at least replace doctors. It's only going to make every doctor a good doctor.
Absolutely. In fact, we have a saying, AI will never replace doctors, but doctors who know AI will replace doctors who don't. That's the power of the AI, right? It's an efficiency enhancer, as previous speaker also said. We have to leverage all the tools to give the best diagnosis and treatment, because at the end of the day, patient doesn't care whether it's Ayurveda or modern science. They want a problem to get resolved.
So Cheta, how much of technology, given that we're living in this increasingly tech-driven world, farming is no different, and the one section that you closely work is farmers. You're working with farmers, so improving their lives is one part of your story, and the other is, of course, ensuring people eat healthy food. So at Earth Purna, what have you observed in terms of how sustainable farming is getting more effective with the use of the right tech and AI?
अगर हम लोग मिलेट का एग्जांपल लेते हैं, so millet come on mountain slope and they come on very less water. They grow on very less water. So traditionally we were growing it, but farmers have stopped. So maybe people tend to eat healthy thing, but हमें अगर ऑनलाइन हम लोग सर्च करते हैं तो यूजुअली मिलता है कि ये मत खाओ, वो मत खाओ, वो मत खाओ, वो मत खाओ. क्या खाना है वो कोई बताता नहीं है. So that's how we want to bridge the gap कि farmers को fair price मिल सके वहाँ पे. We are promoting them that they can grow the traditional crop. They are good for soil, good for us, and providing customers that healthy food products. So the tech thing you asked me, so tech can help farmers. So which are the traditional crop they were growing, they can get the data. Also people can connect, use AI to get the good fit diet for them. So that's how it can be.
So your strategy can essentially be based on all the tech inputs you have. The good thing about a superfood like millet is that it really is not very heavy dependent on water, other things, doesn't need to be taken care of that much. So that automatically makes things simpler for anyone. But Unnati, tell us a little bit about your journey, especially with regards to your husband and you starting this business all by yourself with no experience in food whatsoever. तो ये कहाँ से आया और इतना डिटेल्ड, मतलब यू नो लॉट ऑफ पीपल विल से दैट आई विल स्टार्ट अ रेस्टोरेंट और आई वांट टू कुक और आई वांट टू डू समथिंग और मे बी गेट इनटू अ टिफिन सिस्टम. सो यू गॉट इनटू इट बट गॉट इनटू मिलेट्स इन पर्टिकुलर.
उसके पीछे भी एक रीज़न है. जो मेरी बेटी है वो पहले स्विमिंग करती थी, तो पहले से ही बहुत 20 साल पहले से ही उसको कुछ तो हेल्दी देना है. इसकी वजह से मैंने घर में ही एक गृहिणी या एक माँ जो जितना अच्छा दे सकती है उतना बाकी बाहर नहीं मिलेगा, रेस्टोरेंट्स में नहीं मिलेगा. तो उस वजह से पहले से ही मैं थोड़ा न्यूट्रिशन, उसको प्रोटीन चाहिए, उसको ये चाहिए. और एज अ वेजिटेरियन उसको कहाँ से कुछ मिलेगा इसका स्टडी मैंने थोड़ा किया. मैंने अकेले नहीं, मैं और मेरे हस्बैंड ने किया था. और उसकी वजह से जो प्रोडक्ट्स हमने बनाए वो हेल्दी और न्यूट्रिशियस और टेस्टी. कैसे है वो लड्डू खाएगी.
आप इतना इजी, यू आर मेकिंग इट साउंड सो इजी. इतना इजी है नहीं कि आप कॉम्पिटिशंस भी जीत रहे हो.
हाँ.
आप कारगिल विजय दिवस 2025 में जाके वहाँ जवानों को भी खाना खिला रहे हो. तो
नहीं
जल्दी
वो
इतना सक्सेस
नहीं. एक गृहिणी, अभी मुझे होटल मैनेजमेंट में जो सिखाया है वो मुझे मालूम नहीं है, लेकिन मैंने जो घर में सीखा है 20-25 साल में, जब से शादी हुई है तब से मैंने जो सीखा है वो होटल मैनेजमेंट में तो मैंने नहीं सीखा. वो मेरे हाथ का तो कुछ तो जादू रहेगा. तो वो सब हम उसमें मिला के बनाते हैं तो उतना टेस्टी हो जाएगा. और आप जो बोला कि वो कंपटीशन जीत रहे हैं, तो ऐसे ही वो मेरा पैशन है. कुकिंग इज माय पैशन. सो उसकी वजह से उसमें भी हमने, अब आप बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, मिलेट से मैंने आइसक्रीम बनाया है. तो मिलेट का आइसक्रीम मैंने कंपटीशन में वो जीत लिया है. मैंने मिलेट से चीज बॉल बनाया है. सब बोलते हैं अरे मिलेट से कैसे आप बना सकते हैं. हाँ, मैंने 100% मिलेट से चीज बॉल बनाया है, मिलेट से आइसक्रीम बनाया है. यू टेल मी द
सबसे चैलेंजिंग कौन सा रेसिपी था जिसको बार बार ट्राई करना पड़ा? इट टुक अ व्हाइल
हाँ,
बिफोर यू
वो अभी तक है. वो मैंने ब्रेड का.
ब्रेड?
हाँ.
अच्छा,
ब्रेड पिज्जा. हाँ, अभी आजकल के बच्चों को तो यही चाहिए ना, यही चाहिए. तो उसमें भी हम हेल्दी दे सकते हैं. तो अभी चैलेंजिंग मेरे लिए है ब्रेड एंड पिज्जा.
तो अगर मिलेट, you know, you have such a healthy diet since the beginning, you're not going to need to go and visit a doctor. So from traditional foods to traditional healthcare, I think we're going in a complete circle, completing the circle here. Dr. Sujata, tell us a little bit about the future of Ayurveda. You know, we've been talking about tech, innovation, times are changing constantly, new technology is coming in, it's benefiting some, it's giving a headache to others. Where does Ayurveda stand in all this? How is it looking at changing times and times changing so rapidly, in fact?
Yes. Actually, everyone has to change according to time. So Ayurveda again has to change. Then only the people will adapt that system of medicine. So we are integrating with digital, we are integrating the digital transformation also. We are doing it. HMIS system we are adopting. Then many AI-based tools we are developing, like the development of kiosk. that can analyze the prakruti of a constitution of an individual, and that can advise you how your constitution is, the composition of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, and what kind of diet is suitable for you, or what kind of lifestyle you should adopt. That kiosk will tell. So those instruments and AI tools we are developing and that we can use in the Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is also changing, no doubt about it.
Ayurveda is changing, but so are people's questions. In fact, I was reading somebody's, the article the other day and pointed to two different opinions on one particular Ayurveda website. And I didn't want to digress, but since you were talking about foods, this was spoken for curds. Now, a lot of health professionals here are going to be like, we know this and this is basics, but for all those who are not aware, tell us about something like curd, for instance. Ayurveda says in as many words that it's good for your gut health, that it improves digestion, and that's what all of us have learned over the years. But there are those who practice Ayurveda who also come out to say that it leads to bloating or leads to indigestion. That creates a little bit of ambiguity. So how do you address those questions?
Again, Ayurveda is very, very, very personalized kind of thing. Actually, the curd is not recommended at the night. You should not eat. Ayurveda recommends for good health, good gut health. It recommends buttermilk rather than the curd. And the curd is not taking alone. You should add meshri or sandhav or amla in it. So it will not harm you. So it is not, Ayurveda is not discouraging for eating the curd, but there are certain ways. Because alone curd is, in Ayurveda we say that it is abhishani. That means it is having the salt and water retention capacity in the body. So it is going to harm. So if the kapha people eat daily curd, they are going to suffer with the kapha diseases. So that is again the personalized kind of thing.
And it's called the science of life for a reason, after all. Dr. Bala, you've been speaking of a very interesting concept of this balance that you're attempting to draw, of a blend of modern tech and traditional Ayurveda, for instance. Now, when and how do people approach it? In the sense, for anyone who's practicing this model of healthcare that you're working on, for those who are, let's say, at the beginning of, going through some sort of treatment for a certain illness, vis-a-vis those with chronic diseases, for instance, how does it differ? How does your healthcare model differ for those people, these two separate categories?
Yeah, great question. We strongly believe that the future of medicine is no medicine, right? If you can prevent people from taking a lot of medication, which is what we are doing, right? My mother takes 20 medication, my father takes 15 medication, and I can also see my future, if we go in the same trajectory. So the two categories you have mentioned, one we call keeping people healthy. That means diagnose conditions at an early stage, understand your unique expression of the disease. As Dr. Sujata told, we use, in modern medicine, we tend to use a generalized terms, right? Diabetes, we use a single description. The cause of the diabetes is not described. Only the effect in terms of the high sugar level happens is only described, right? Our kids eat a lot of chocolates, they don't get diabetes. So one of the things that we look at when we talk about keeping people healthy is understanding your unique constitution and tailoring Ayurveda recommendations, not just giving medicines, right? It's the diet that you take. It's also the lifestyle in terms of the yoga and meditation, blending these three to prevent them from getting into a disease. Okay? And for people who are suffering from chronic diseases like diabetes, right? Let me just take a poll, right? How many of your parents or siblings or any family members suffer from diabetes? Okay, so we invest close
Almost
to
half.
Almost half. So as with all the latest advances, latest modern technology, $70 billion is spent on managing diabetes. And how many of them got cured after going through a treatment? 0, right? 1. Okay, so you must have done something right. You should tell us.
Or maybe it was a blend of what you're trying to do.
Sure.
But okay.
Yeah, so I think the important thing is whatever we are doing right now is not working because we are not addressing the root cause. We are simply putting a band-aid on the symptom and we are happy that yes, the sugar level is controlled and the conventional approach is to keep taking medicines to keep them under control, right? But what is the purpose of any medicinal system is to cure them of a disease. And that is where I think the blend of modern advances and Ayurveda can work because one works on a different pathway in terms of reducing the symptom severity. That is also important. If I'm suffering from pain, right, I need to take paracetamol to reduce the pain instantly. But it's also important to address the root cause why we are getting a disease. And at least from my understanding and work with Ayurveda, Ayurveda has great potential to address the root cause of the disease. And I'm a great example of that if done correctly. Right? So this is how we look at it. And to reduce the number of medicines that we are taking if you are a chronic disease patient.
Ayurveda also, Dr. Sujata, has a very interesting concept of how it all began thousands of years ago when people were actually fetching for fresh food. There was no greed, there was no nothing doing. So, you were opting for the healthiest food. You would pluck your fruit, you would eat it right away. How one thing led to the other and that eventually has led to the lifestyle problem that we're all perhaps dealing with. That's all the time we had. Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Dr. Bala. Thank you.